What's going on, everyone? Sorry, I'm settling in here. DSP here, and welcome to the latest edition of the Hateful Truth video game review series, where I give you maximum truth and minimum bullshit regarding my personal experiences with today's newest gaming releases. And today we're going to talk about a game that I'm probably going to end up spending a ridiculous amount of time with in the coming year, because its predecessor I ended up using almost every single month of last year, and for good reasons. This is a game that is directly tied into a product, and therefore, for fans of that product, it could be a huge, monstrous, positive game. But for others who really aren't into it, it's probably going to be something that they're going to want to pass up. And what we're talking about today is WWE'13, which is THQ's latest installment in the WWE wrestling franchise. Now, last year was WWE'12. THQ tried a reboot of the series. What they were saying was, alright, we realized that maybe we went a little bit too far down the road of the SmackDown vs. Raw games, and now what we really need to do is refresh the lineup, update our gaming engine, update our graphical engine, update a lot of things. And that game last year was pretty good, but had some flaws. And what we're going to talk about is whether or not those flaws were fixed in WWE'13. We're going to talk about the different kinds of modes and content and such that are in the game. And then obviously I'm going to tell you whether or not you're going to like it, okay? So, WWE'13 is the newest installment of the WWE wrestling game franchise, and what they focused on this year is completely unique from what they've done with this series in the past. In the past, it was always kind of like, alright, we're just going to focus on the here and now. We're going to focus on the current roster of wrestlers that are active on WWE television within the past year or so when the game was being made. And we'll even have maybe a story mode that has plot lines that almost seem like they were written for TV and stuff like that. Well, they didn't do that with WWE'13. What they did is they actually said, we're going to focus on our past. We're going to go back to an era when WWE's ratings were immensely high, when they were able to overcome their direct competitor WCW. They were able to eventually buy out the company and turn it, turn it into not WWF, not WCW, but the new WWE, which kind of amalgamated a lot of the stuff between the two competing brands. So, yeah, that's right. WWE'13 focuses on the Attitude Era of wrestling. And because of that, it ends up having lots of wrestlers from the Attitude Era of the WWE in the game, including people like The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Mankind, Kane, okay? These are the characters of that era that they're focused on. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Bret Hart. So we're talking, mid to late 1990s, basically. And it has an Attitude Era mode that is basically almost a 10-hour-long campaign, where what you're going to do is you're going to play the different big stars of that era, and you're going to go through the actual same plot lines that they did on WWE TV. You're going to reenact with these characters, and it's really neat because it might be, let's say it's a famous match, and so what you need to do is there'll be secret hidden stipulations as you're playing the match. They'll unfold. So maybe you're fighting a match of Mick Foley versus The Undertaker in Hell in the Cell. So you're wrestling, it'll say, you have to hit him with a chair a certain amount of times. So you're beating the shit out of him a certain amount of times, and then you move on to the next objective that appears again. And say, oh, you have to throw him off the top of the cage. Now, you don't have to do these things. That's the thing. These are kind of secret optional objectives, but if you do, you unlock things in the game, including additional wrestlers, additional arenas, including some of the classic arenas of the game, and other additional content so that there's incentive to doing it. And it's really neat because it's challenging to actually get these secret objectives. And it's also fun because if you're a fan of the WWE and you watched those matches back then, or you've kind of educated yourself on those matches, you might already know what it is you're supposed to do during these matches, which is really neat. So, during this Attitude Era mode, you're going to play as, like I said, Stone Cold Steve Austin has his own campaign, The Rock has his own campaign, Mankind, etc., etc. And so, overall, once you complete it, then you actually unlock another optional mode, which is basically matches that weren't included in the Attitude Era mode, but may have happened around that general time, including Chris Jericho's debut, I believe, Edge's first televised match on one certain WWE show, stuff like that. And so you're going to play as these wrestlers from that era in these crazy classic matches, and you have to try to reenact their secret objectives as well to unlock those characters and to unlock more content. So really, the game is cool. You can play it more casually, and you can try to just, you know, win the matches, or you can actually try to challenge yourself and get all the optional objectives. There's also a universe mode. Now, universe mode returns from last year. What this is the simulation mode of the game. A lot of people love to simulate their own WWE, almost kind of like have their own fantasy league or whatever. And the WWE Universe allows you to do that. You can actually have a schedule where each show from the week, Monday Night Raw, you know, SmackDown on Saturdays, you have pay-per-view simulations and such. There's other shows as well that they include there that you can have. I think Superstars is one of them, and NXT, stuff like that. And you can have custom rosters. You can move people from show to show, from roster to roster. You can book the cards. You can actually create your own storylines. You can create your own wrestlers to involve in there. So it's like a fully interactive, a fully editable universe simulation mode. And some important things to note that they actually made easier from last year is title matches are much easier to set up. There's a separate menu for it. Title management has actually been dramatically improved. It used to be like you had to go through all these screens and shit to reassign a title from one person to another. Now it's just like literally you can assign it almost instantaneously from one screen. It's amazingly easy to do. Loading times have been dramatically improved, and what I mean by that is if you used to have like created wrestlers and stuff in the game and you had tried to include them in universe mode, and you even just selecting them or trying to assign a title to them used to take forever because it had to load their icon or their you know, their profile pic or whatever, and it would just fucking take forever. They've definitely improved that this time around. You don't have to wait a lot for the loading, and that's a definite plus. You can create your own title, although that's kind of silly because you really can't create your own title. What it really is you just take any of the pre-existing titles in the game and you recolor them. It's not like you can make your own custom logos and things that you can put on the title. And I don't understand why they didn't take it that far. I actually thought that would have been like the next logical step. That's where they were going with it, but it wasn't, and I was a little disappointed with the title creation. But in regards to the wrestlers, just an amazing amount of customization. The tools that are provided are excellent. You can do custom intros, custom music you can import yourself, or you know, you can make your own Titantron and make your own ring entrance and your own ring attire that you can wear to the ring and then take it off and wrestle in different attire. So pretty much anything that the wrestlers really do, you can do in this game. It's pretty crazy, okay? So the amazing amount of customization from WWE 12 returns in WWE 13 with some additions, which is always a plus, okay? And so really, I think where the game shines for me is because what I'm going to end up doing for the next year, just like I did with WWE 12, is we're going to be doing simulation matches of real live pay-per-views. When a pay-per-view happens and, you know, there's matches that people want to see, we simulate them in WWE 13 and we see what the computer does, okay? Now, this is where I do have to say a couple negatives about the game. The AI in WWE 13 almost seems a little bit less than as good as it was in WWE 12. Now let me explain where it's been improved and where there are actually problems, okay? It's been improved in a couple regions. Number one, there was a lot of things that happened in WWE 12 like repetitive moves. The same person would keep doing a Russian leg sweep, or they would keep doing an abdominal stretch. That seems to have been fixed in this game. You don't usually see the wrestlers doing generally the same moves and doing the same repeated stuff over and over and over, and that's a good thing. But there's a couple negatives that are kind of like, what happened here? The first one, and this is the most glaringly a big one of all of them, when you're simulating matches, the AI is unable to kick out during a 2. So what I mean is, if the AI is going to kick out before 3 during a pin, it's going to kick out at 1. So it's kind of really annoying. You might have a long drawn-out match, people have been smashed with chairs, thrown off ladders, and it's just not time for the match to end yet because the guy's got one last burst of strength, and he kicks out at 1. And you're like, oh, come on, what happened? How did they not test it to know that everyone was going to kick out at 1? It just makes no sense that that's a bug that's in the game. some other weird things. There are things in the game, I'll give you an example, that the AI doesn't necessarily recognize or understand what it's supposed to be doing. So for example, one example here is there's a flaming tables match setting where it's a tables match where you're supposed to put someone through a table, but what you have to do is build up a super meter first. You know, do a finishing move, and then when your finishing move, you can actually light the table on fire, and then you have to put them through to win the match. Well, the AI doesn't know this, so the AI just keeps constantly putting people through tables without lighting them on fire, and it's like, that's kind of weird. And there's a couple omissions in that department that are a little bit weird and annoying, and it's just like, what happened here? And then there are just some functionality issues, like for example, the camera shots sometimes are wrong, and the camera shots will sometimes freeze at one of the cutaways, because what happens, just like with real WWE matches, there are several virtual cameras, you know, around the ring, and during the match, if there's like, wow, it's a big move or something, or wow, big reversal, they'll cut to one of the different cameras to get a better view. Well, unfortunately, there's a bug in this game where sometimes it cuts to one of those cameras and never goes back to the regular camera so you can see what's going on. So that's another major bug. I really feel that they need to patch this to fix just some of the silly bugs that are present in the game. It's kind of annoying. But outside of those bugs, the simulations still kind of work once you tweak certain settings. Like you need to tweak them, how quickly finishers build up, and you need to tweak the amount of damage that certain things do. On the default settings, the matches, if you try to simulate a match, they take like an hour. Any match. It could be the two biggest jobbers in the company. They'll still wrestle for an hour. So obviously that's not the goal that you want. You're going to have to tweak the settings, okay? And I do have to say that the roster of wrestlers in the game is excellent. Very large selection of both modern day and, you know, Attitude Era wrestlers. In fact, some of the newer additions to the roster have already been added as DLC content for those who purchase the, I think they call it the Fan Access, which is basically a season pass. You get all the DLC that's coming out. And if you purchase the season pass, you already would have gotten some wrestlers like Ryback, who are some of the biggest up-and-comers. Right now they're the biggest thing in the company, but they weren't in the game because they weren't up-and-coming when this game was being developed. So no one knew that they were going to be bigger stars, and they didn't put them in the game, but now they're in the game. So that's really awesome. And again, all the production values that I mentioned last year at WWE 12 was just as present in this game. In fact, the audience looks a little bit better, even though you can still see, you know, duplicate people in the audience. They did do a little bit of a better job of animating them and doing things with them. The signs are definitely better, I have to say. The signs are always appropriate to who's in the ring, rather than sometimes you'll just get a generic bullshit, you know, it's a John Cena match, and someone puts up a Rey Mysterio sign, you're like, what the fuck is that? But, you know, for the most part, the wrestlers do actually look like themselves. They have their authentic ring entrances, their authentic entrance music, so all that's in there, and all that is excellent. The only other thing I really want to talk about is the online modes, and some of the improvements that they made, and some of the things that really they have not improved that they should have, okay? Major improvement this year is that when you go online with WWE'13, it actually fucking lets you go there and it works. WWE 12 was a horrid disaster. Anytime you wanted to go online, whether it was to download a created wrestler that someone made, to buy a DLC wrestler, to do anything in their online mode, it was like, it would take forever, it would lock up, it would error out and kick you out completely, it would lock your console. And it was like a debacle. What the fuck did they do? They completely fucked this up. There were some days when John and I wanted to do simulation matches, and it took us hours to set it up because it took us so long to try to get the wrestlers and stuff that we needed from online. This year, completely fixed. I don't know if they changed it to a completely different server, or they did something drastic, because you can actually go online now. You can search for wrestlers. You can find them easily. You can create upload your own, create your own wrestlers, your own arenas. There's no problem with the marketplace style atmosphere there. Now, it works. So that's a major plus. And just so everyone knows, I did make myself in the game, and I am uploaded. So if anyone wants to ever use me in a game just to be silly, I'm there. I created myself under it says Darkside Phil. It's all you gotta search for, Darkside Phil, and you'll see created by Darkside Phil, and I'm on there. So you can actually get my guy as a wrestler if you would like. But the major fail this year is pretty much another major fail from last year that they just didn't fix, and I don't understand why. The online play sucks, okay? And let me explain why. It's for a couple different reasons. Number one, if you play a match with any more than one other person, so if it's anything that's not a singles match, the game lags terribly. And I'm talking like slow motion. There's no way that anyone can convincingly do what they want to do. It's a fucking horrid mess. And I still don't understand. It's the same thing last year. Same thing again. It's like, what happened here? Why couldn't they take the time to try to fix this? They improved so many other things. Why couldn't they get this working? The other problem is, okay, so let me explain a little bit about the online play. There are two different options. You can either wrestle with created characters or without created characters. Now the problem here is, if you want to play only with the characters in the game, you don't want people like having created characters with weird moves and shit, well, good luck finding a match, because unfortunately there just aren't a lot of people who are playing online with that setting. They're all playing with, oh, we want to use our created wrestlers. You know, we bought the game, we made our own wrestler, we want to use them online. And I can understand that, except for the fact that people have created completely broken wrestlers that they're just so overpowered and unstoppably good with the builds that they've made. So let me give you an example. There are people who made a Mark Henry-like character, okay? And Mark Henry, unlike everyone else in the game has a running throw. And what that means is when you're running, you press the throw button and it's like you do a quick move. Maybe it's a DDT, maybe it's a slam of some sort, but it's pretty much some of the best moves in the game because it's one of the quickest moves and it's one of the hardest to reverse. So the Mark Henry build, what I mean is his move set in the game, instead of having a running throw, he actually has a running push because he's a giant guy. So if you run and you press throw with Mark Henry, he just pushes you to the ground. And it's actually one of the best moves in the entire game because it's so fucking fast and it doesn't have much of an animation. It's almost impossible to reverse this move accurately, okay? So what people have done, they've created entire characters that all they do is the running push nonstop online, and because there is lag, it's even harder for you to reverse it. So they just keep doing it non-stop, and there's nothing you can do about it unless you get a lucky reversal. They do this until they know that your midsection's been damaged enough, and then they've given them the bear hug finisher. So all they do, push, 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 bear hug, the match is over in like a minute. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? That's not the spirit of wrestling. That's not the spirit of the game. That's obviously, you know, not how it was supposed to be played. But people have created these created wrestlers just for the sole purpose of winning instead of the purpose of having a good wrestling match, and that's unfortunate. And so when you go online, you're going to be bombarded with just, you know, the most ridiculous things you've ever seen. You've got people who, a simple grapple move is like 15 seconds because the guy, he goes to grapple, he goes behind you, he goes in front of you, he's doing this, he bangs your arm but then twists it and then he dances on your face, and it's like a 15-second animation for a regular fucking move just because it's the creative wrestler and they wanted to be dicks about it. It's actually funny because my Dark Side Phil character has a top rope finisher. I want to see how ridiculous I could make a finisher, okay? Here's how ridiculous it is. So my finisher is that I put you on the top turnbuckle, okay? I then do 3 Shoryuken uppercuts. I'm not kidding. My character does 3 spinning Shoryuken uppercuts to your face, so you're completely stunned. He then picks you up, puts you on his shoulders, turns around, and does a super, like, Samoan drop. It's like the most ridiculous move you'd ever see. No one would ever do it in any wrestling match. It's because it's so overblown. But, like, it's so funny because you go online and, you know, you're trying to have a real wrestling match. Oh, time for my finisher. And it takes like 20 seconds. And the guy on the other end must be like, what the fuck is this? So it's really absolutely ridiculous. And people can drop. People can drop from games, and it's really annoying. That's the problem with all these competitive games online. Oh, I'm losing. Let me just drop. And there's really no penalty for it. There's really nothing you can do about it. I mean, it's going to happen, especially because when I was playing this game, it was relatively new. I was playing it pretty much around the time that it had come out. And I was playing it online. I didn't record any of these matches, by the way, but I was playing it online off camera because I actually wanted to get all the achievements in the game. And I almost did. There's like one achievement that I didn't get because it's online. It's like you have to get to a certain rank. But there's no way you could ever do it because you have to search so long for matches. There's not a lot of people playing the game online because it's so laggy, and the only people who are playing are people playing with these really abusive created characters that really just, they're ruining the spirit of the game. It's supposed to be wrestling, not push you 20 times and then easily submit you out. It's really dumb. So, online play is pretty much almost completely worthless. And that's unfortunate for a game, again, if it had good online play, this game could have been probably one of the best games of the year. But the fact that it's got weird bugs that are still present in the game that need to be patched, and online play that's basically worthless. I mean, the game is good. You've got a 10-hour Attitude Era mode. You've got the simulation mode, universe mode. So for all that, it's great, and you can create your own wrestler, and that's kind of fun. But there's really the online play is nothing to speak of. You're not going to ever get to go play a great Royal Rumble match online or anything like that. It's not feasible. So it's unfortunate that they still haven't gotten some of the features working with the online play so that people can enjoy the game with others over the internet. And that's the bottom line. This is a game to be enjoyed on your couch with your friends. This is not a game that you can play over the internet, and that's unfortunate because in this day and age, the couch co-op is becoming a lot less prevalent. So WWE 13. If you are a fan of the WWE, you're going to love this game. This is like a must-buy because you can do all these crazy fantasy things you've always wanted to do. Put yourself in the matches. It's just crazy. It's fun. It's amazing. A lot of polish on the game. They did a really good job. But if you're not a fan of WWE, I really don't see anyone liking this game if you don't like what the characters and that stuff, because that's really what the game is centered around. Reminiscing on the good old days, and then also simulating the modern day stuff. So if you're not involved in the product, you're not going to care and you're not going to want to play this game. So unfortunately, what I have to really say is this: if you're not a fan of the WWE, there's no review score for this game because this game doesn't apply to you. This is one of those NA, not applicable, because the game is just not going to appeal to anyone who's not a WWE fan. Before a WWE fan, I did see there were noted improvements in this game over last year's WWE 12. They got the online play working. They did fix some of the really silly bugs and things that happened in last year's game. So I have to definitely give it a little bit of improvement in score. I gave WWE 12 last year a 7.75. I'm going to give WWE 13 an 8. And it's a solid effort, and I think they're headed in the right direction, and in another year or two, if they keep tweaking the game will get to where it can be a great game. There's a problem with that, though. The publishers, the third-party developers, THQ just filed for bankruptcy, okay? Unfortunately, THQ has not been doing well financially. They had a lot of gambles with different games that didn't go well. This year, some of the games they expected to sell really well, like Darksiders 2, did not sell as well as they wanted to, and therefore they just couldn't afford to run their company anymore. They declared bankruptcy, and they've now been purchased by a third-party investment group. And the good news here is that supposedly all the gaming groups and everything inside of that are being told, just keep making games. Don't worry about the fact that the company went bankrupt. The money's still going to be there. You're still going to get your paychecks. Keep working. So hopefully that means that for the next year's WWE installment, we'll see another one. We'll see WWE 14. But you never know in situations like this. What happened? What if they decide, well, guess what? We have to cut something out of the budget, and maybe WWE 13 didn't sell as well as we wanted to, so cancel the next one. And that would be really unfortunate because they've been doing it for so long, and now they're finally at a level where I think, like I said, just a few more tweaks, this game would be a great, great game. And they're like on the cusp, the precipice of being there, but they just haven't gotten there yet. So WWE 13, a good game, definitely worth a buy if you're a WWE fan. I give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, so that's it for the Hateful Truth video game review. I hope that you found it informative, and now you have a little bit more of an idea of whether or not this is a game that you'd be interested in playing and or purchasing, especially now that we're reaching the holiday season, and a lot of people will be either asking for things for Christmas or buying them subsequently afterwards with all the money that they got. So, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time on the Hateful Truth. Peace.